Hi everybody! Nice to be here in Utrecht. Finally, because Utrecht is my hometown. I guess you're all living here too. I always try to work in Utrecht, but in 15 years of my working life I never succeeded. I always have to go to Amsterdam because there's my network and there's the people I know and they give me jobs. So I don't have a network in Utrecht and that's why I'm speaking here. So I'm hoping you will reach out to me via Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn. Just send me a hi and we can maybe connect and collaborate on some projects, who knows. So I would really love that with the creative community of Utrecht. I'm talking here today about content collaborations because the theme of this month was collaborations. And I watched a few of the talks I saw in San Francisco and I saw the talk from John Bell from Twitter. It was really well, so if you want to see some talks from collaboration, really check the one from John Bell. And I learned a lot from that and I was thinking, oh my god, I have to really learn something. I have to say stuff that you will remember me by. So I'm going to try today to tell you some things you didn't know. I hope I will inspire you. Why am I talking about bloggers and brands and media? It's because content is my life and my love and my passion for always. When I was a little kid, I wanted to work in the magazine world. Because when we always got the leesmap, I don't know if you know the leesmap, in the Netherlands, every week you got the leesmap with like 10 magazines. And I was always scavenging through the magazines and reading them from beginning to end. It was the Donald Duck and even the Nieuwe Revue and the Libelle and the Margriet. And I was like, it was paradise for me. So when I grew up, I was thinking, I want to work at the publisher who creates these magazines. And that was Sanoma. It was called Venu. So it was my big dream to work at Sanoma. And I succeeded. And in 1998, I started working at Sanoma. And I will tell you about my career in this presentation. So I started Sanoma in 1998, and I came into the editorial staff. And it didn't look like this, but it did look a little bit like this because everybody was smoking from behind its computer. It was like in the editorial staff in the room was like really crowded. And everybody behind their computers, but the internet, we didn't have access to the internet yet. So I started, there was internet of course, because it was way before that. But in 1998, the editorial staff didn't have access. And I thought that was weird. So from my computer, I put it on, and you see the little C and the dots and a blue screen, and that was it. Just a blue screen, like, oh, what do I do at this job, watching my screen? And I asked the editor-in-chief then, from a fashion magazine, it was a fashion DIY magazine, can I have access to the internet? And she said, internet? No, you can't have access to the internet. It's very expensive, you don't do that here. But I had to do a fashion shoot, so I had to arrange models and a photographer and a location and all that sort of things. And I knew you could book models online, I knew you could check the weather to see if it's good. And I told her that, but she still said no, you can't have access to the internet. It was my first job and I was like, oh, my boss says I can't have internet, that's strange. So I sent an email to the publisher, her boss, which was maybe not a smart thing to do, but I did. And I said, I can't have access to the internet, that's the future. The internet is the future for publishing. And she said, well, I guess you're right. So she wrote an angry email to my boss about why can't your staff have access to the internet? It's not expensive, it's not scary, you have to do this. So and that day, I remember it very well, I was coming into the room and she called my name really loud, Kirsten! I was like, oh, what's happening? And then she called me into her room and she got really mad at me that I went behind her back to the publisher to ask for internet. And she almost fired me, she didn't. But I got the internet access. So I got really happy And a few years after that, she wrote me an email. I remember, like, well, the internet, Kirsten, yeah, I think it's going to be something, this internet thing. I'm like, yeah, duh. So that was my first thing, like, with publishing. I worked for a magazine, and I just needed the internet. And after 2 years working for print, I was like, we have to work online, because we have internet. If you make a mistake, if you can change it online. In print, you always see these mistakes on the cover, and you cannot change it. So the internet has so many more possibilities for us as publishers. So yeah, that's what I did. In 2000 I started working for the internet. So it was not like the old school journalist anymore, but I was more like a blogger and a publisher. And one thing I noticed also about the editorial stuff, you had Margriet and you had Libelle and you had Viva, and all these different editorial stuff, they worked apart from each other. And when I was looking for the name of a photographer, I said, oh, I will work to the other, to Margriet or Libelle or Viva. And they said, no, don't do that. Because they were all keeping secrets. Because maybe the cover image would be known by the other one. If Libelle had the cover image and Margriet did it, all hell broke loose. So everybody had to be secretive. And I never understood the secretive. Why being secretive about your cover? Why don't you talk about it so you don't have the same cover? But they thought that was really strange, my thoughts. I was always about openness. And you see, old school publishers, they were like, we have big secrets. And then the big secrets were thrown out of the window, and there were a lot of people waiting for your publication. That's how it used to look like. We were in these bricks, and people were really happy to receive their magazines or their newspapers. But that's like 2000, it was still working this way. And first the web, and then came social media. And it all changed for publishers, and they had to deal with it. They had to do something, but they didn't. It was like in 2004 or 2005, it was Hives, and then came Facebook and Twitter, and around 2010 a lot of other networks, but they didn't really embrace them yet. And that's really a pity, of course, because maybe then my first smartphone was in 2008, and there was a golden combination: social media, making photos, and smartphones. Because everybody is now a writer, and everybody is now a photographer. And you can see, I went to the moon, took 5 photos, and I went to the bathroom, took 37 photos. It's what we can do now, and what we did from 2008. So really interesting for publishers who didn't do this at all. Their editorial stuff, they are not still, they're bad at personal branding online. There are some editors-in-chief who do this well, but most editors are really lousy at it. They should have been on Instagram for 5 years. They should have been on LinkedIn with their profile. They should vlog. But they didn't, because they had to make magazines and they are prints. They have deadlines. They don't have time for social media. But I was always like, we have to do this, because otherwise, if print goes down, and now it does, then we have online, and we have our presentation, and our stories can continue to be told. So then 2008. I guess it was a little bit before, but because blogs existed from around 2000, 1993 was actually the first blogger, but around 2000 we got WordPress and Blogger, and Tumblr came on later. But all these people started blogging, and my first blog actually was in 1999. I worked for Tip Culinaire, which is now Delicious, the magazine, and this editor-in-chief, Franska Stuy, she understood the internet. She's now been editor-in-chief of Libelle for a long time. And she told me that I should write a column every week on the website. And that was actually the first blog for me. And my first comment I remember really well, because I worked for this culinary magazine, and I was 25, and I didn't like any meat, I was really bad at food, and then I worked at a food magazine. I had to write a column. And my first comment was, you food, no, you don't know anything about food, and you write a column for a culinary magazine, how can this happen? I still saved this comment, so from 1999, my first comment online was a bad comment. And that was a bad experience for me, but after that I keep on getting positive messages, so that was good. And it was good to get feedback, because people used to write letters to the editorial staff. Libelle still gets a lot of letters, but now people just show their opinion on Facebook, of course. And bloggers, they knew how to get an audience. They just wrote something, some did serious, some just for fun. and they knew how to get audience. And then Instagram came and all the fashion bloggers went to Instagram. And now we have Snapchat, we have so many ways to communicate, and everybody does this. And there are some people who are really good at it, and those are the bloggers. And that's what I noticed around 2008. I worked at VT Wonen, and we were struggling with our website. Our website was like around 200,000 unique visitors, and then I saw all these bloggers, interior bloggers. They were growing and growing, and if they asked a question on Facebook, they got answers. If VT Wonen asked questions on Facebook or Twitter, we didn't get any answers. People were scared to talk to magazines or something. Maybe it's also strange to talk to magazines. It's not strange to talk to people. So I started working with these bloggers for VT Wonen, and they did some content for us, and they were really proud because their work was also being published in the magazine. And a lot of bloggers felt like, oh, this is really cool to have my production in VT Wonen. So that was a cool thing to combine bloggers with magazines. But then also the advertisers and the brands started coming to me. They said, hey, this is nice, we have an advertisement in VT Wonen, but we would also like people to talk about it. How can we get this done? I said, we have to work with bloggers because people talk to bloggers. So I started also working with bloggers and brands and magazine. I combined the three. So they were all happy and everyone was talking with each other about their products. Of course, after the bloggers came the vloggers. You see them here. In the Netherlands, I always have in this presentation, I have a face from Felix Kjellberg. Do you know Felix Kjellberg? Somebody knows Felix Kjellberg? No? Okay, that's a good call. He's only the biggest vlogger in the world. His name's PewDiePie, then probably you know him. He's got like 37 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. So he's the biggest publisher in the world. He's a 23-year-old guy from Sweden, Felix Kjellberg. So that's what can happen if you, as a publisher or a TV station, or if you're not taking notes, then some people like this just go by and say, hi, we're even bigger than you. And these are the Dutch, some of the Dutch vloggers. On the left side is Teske. I've known her since she was like 16 or 17. She was blogging and then vlogging, and she brought out a single. Maybe you saw her on De Wereld Draait Door. She's really famous now, and now she's the first vlogger to appear in what's it called? A TV show where they go to an island, a desert island. She's the first one as a vlogger to join the famous Dutch people. So you can make it from a vlogger to BN'er. But what also it's of course in the beauty and the games, the pranks and the challenges. Vlogging is all about these subjects. While you have bloggers in the food and every category you can think of, even chicken. There are chicken blogs. I don't know if you have Googled chicken blogs. Every subject is covered by a blogger. But for vlogging, it's actually all about beauty and games and pranks and challenges in the Netherlands and also worldwide. And then came Instagram. And here we have also people wanting to talk to each other, wanting to collaborate on a lot of projects, like WHP, that's a weekend hashtag project. It's from Instagram itself, but there are like thousands of collaborations on Instagram with the hashtag. Just think of a hashtag, ask people to join your challenge, and they will, because in Instagram it's really pretty big. I talked to a blogger, it's Aranka from Fit Girl Code, maybe you know Fit Girl Code. It's a community, and they started out with Instagram. They didn't start out with a website or anything. She started out with Instagram because she wanted to have her own clothing line. She thought, if I start with Instagram first, then I have my community and I have my target group, and after half a year I will launch my clothing line. And she did. And the clothing line is called Yoga, and it was sold out because she had this big community on Instagram. Because every girl who was running and eating healthy mentioned the hashtag FitGirlCode. You can also see this fit girl, all kinds of fit girls. So think of a challenge or an action and think of a hashtag, and it's good to do it within a trend, like fit girls. Of course, a trend at this moment that everybody wants to be fit and eating healthy, and it works on Instagram. So yeah, what did publishers have to do now? All these people were famous and they were getting attention and engagement. So now every magazine wants to work together with a blogger or a vlogger, every TV station. SBS is also from Sanoma. They work together now with social influencers. Social influencers have all the big bloggers in the Netherlands. But what I wonder is, if a vlogger is on television, does it work for him? Because it's a totally different channel. And that's what we see now in the magazines. Here's the VT Wonen issue with bloggers, but also a lot of magazines put up bloggers, famous bloggers on their covers, like Miss Lipgloss on FIFA. I know Miss Lipgloss is a really good example of an entrepreneur and journalist in this time, because she's been blogging since 2008. She's 25 and she's very successful. But she's also a really hard worker. She really wants this, and she works 24/7, so it's not an easy job to write about lipstick and various products. No easy job. She works all the time. I went with her to Chicago to a Blog Her conference, and when she was like 23 years old, and I was like, oh come on, we're going out and going dancing, we're in Chicago, it's a city, we can do. No, I have to blog. So she was blogging and writing on social media 24/7. And then we have Negin Mirsalehi, and maybe you know her, or maybe you don't. She is a 25-year-old girl from Almere. Negin Mirsalehi is of course not a Dutch name, but her parents are from Ariek. But she's from Almere, and when I met her, she had 500,000 Instagram followers, and she said, I wanna be famous, and I'm gonna do it. I was like, yeah, right. But she was really gorgeous, so I thought, well, maybe give her a chance. So I put her in the blogger network I set up for Sanoma, Blog Today, and within a year she was had 1 million followers on Instagram, and still nobody knew her. And I went to Grazia, and I went to Marie Claire, and I asked all of them, can you work with Negin together, with this Instagrammer who's really good, promising? And they all went, no, we don't know her. If you just put a girl like that on the cover, it won't work, and blah blah blah. Again, a year later, she had 2 million followers. Chanel came with 3 women from Paris to meet Negin in Almere. So Negin didn't have to go to Paris to meet Chanel. Chanel came with 3 people to Negin. So the whole world had changed because of her Instagram, and because of the reactions she gets. On every picture she put on Instagram, you can see all the reactions, like the comments. I mean, all the comments. It's like, oh, I love you, Negin. You're so pretty, or you're the world to me. Everybody's like, if they know her, but they just see her pictures. So it's a really interesting phenomenon to see that a girl from Almere with a plan and strategy, also her boyfriend is her manager. That's what you see with a lot of bloggers from fashion decide the boys will be their managers. And they will quit their jobs sometimes to be, they also do the photography. So if you want to be a blogger, you have to have a boyfriend who's really good at photography and who wants to be a manager. And that's what happened with Negin. And now she's flown over through the whole world, and everybody wants to work with her. And also Grazia came to me like, can we have Negin on the cover? I'm like, oh yeah, last year you didn't want her. Yeah, but now we do. And you see the cover on the right, it's from Glamour, and they're all famous girls from the Netherlands. Also Anna Nushin, it's a big, from Ensemble. We have Linda Toll, she's really famous in Italy. That is Yara Michels, so there's all girls like from 25, they're pretty successful. They make good money from their blogs and from their Instagram and from their... So it's a new phenomenon of people who know how to use social media, who know how to publish in their own way and get engagement, because people have the feeling they know these people and they can reach out to them. And that's what brands and what the magazines can do. You don't want to talk to Fate Devon, you want to talk to an editor of Fate Devon. So now they're all putting them in the magazines, but the question is this a mutual, beneficial relationship? Because the bloggers deliver content, sometimes they do this for free, and what do they get in return? They get some followers maybe, but it's only some followers. It's not, you won't grow very fast if you're one time in a magazine. So bloggers, it's really nice to be in a magazine, but that's all it is. It's really nice. If you want to grow, you really have to have a strategy, and you have to collaborate with other bloggers. That's the way to grow online. So what the media does now is how we consume our content is through Facebook. Most of us do. I work at Cosmopolitan. I created a strategy for the coming years for Cosmopolitan, and they have 3 million unique visitors each month. Last year they had 70,000 unique visitors, so they grew in 1 year to 3 million unique visitors. And how did they do this? Facebook. Their readers are between 18 and 24 years old, so they're pretty young, they're young millennials. And they're all using mobile Facebook. So they follow a lot of brands, probably like BuzzFeed, Mashable, Cosmo, on Facebook, and they go like 10 times a day to Facebook to consume news. They don't put up any messages for themselves, or to communicate they use probably Snapchat or WhatsApp or maybe even Instagram. Facebook is just for news consuming. And that's my conclusion, because 3 million girls between 18 and 24 in the Netherlands go to Cosmo every month. That's a lot. So now publishers know Facebook is a big traffic driver for magazines. And they understand this content publication, because what they do is like they publish around 25 posts a day. So 25 posts a day is what's being created at Elle, at Glamour, at Cosmo, and they put them all on Facebook. Every hour they put up a new post, and that's how they get, how Cosmo gets 3 million, how Elle gets 1.5 million visitors. So Facebook is a big answer for a lot of them, and they are now bigger than a lot of bloggers. So where the bloggers first one, now the publishers know the trick, and they got it. They got a lot of visitors right now, but they don't have the engagement yet. And brands, they were really behind. They were like, okay, any idea how we can raise awareness about a product and increase sales leads? Well, somebody says, like me, I was this at Sama, we could engage the online community by providing our brand advocates with information about the product. So you send a lot of information to influencers and ask them to write about it. And then your boss says, okay, sounds like fun, but let's order some new television ads. That's the old school advertising way, of course, with television, radio, and magazines. But we can use different people, like influencers. And I did a lot of these cooperations together with bloggers. And some went good, some went bad, of course, we have to learn. Because advertisers want their message get across, and sometimes they're really like, you have to use these words, you have to use these images, this has to work like this. But bloggers know their own audiences, so brands need to let go and let the bloggers do the work. And this one is from Maandag Daandag. She's a blogger, a mommy blogger, and she worked together with KPN. It was a product, it's called Begin Gemist, and they targeted parents because everybody misses de Wereld Draait Door because they put their children to bed at that time. So we asked a lot of mommy bloggers to create content around that product. And I thought this was a beautiful example of Maandag Daandag. You see her there, her name's Daan, and she's married to Jan Rot, which is a famous writer in the Netherlands, music writer. And they have a lot of children together, and she wrote a little poem, and she made a video of Jan Rot reading to her children. And then the product is really only at the end, but it was really her story, and she didn't get any negative comments. Everybody was like, oh, that's really good to use, the KPN Begin Gemist. You do this so nice. And she got all kinds of compliments. But I also had a lot of bloggers who sometimes use words from advertisers they wouldn't use normally, or use images, or just do every cooperation they can do for the money. And then you see that your readers, they will correct you. Sometimes they're really angry, like, oh, you're so commercial, I don't like it, why do you do this? And so it really has to fit the blogger, and the blogger has to really be really creative in how to bring across this content from the advertiser. So the future of publishing, what I'm thinking is content. Everybody wants content now. Content marketing is the big word for a lot of brands because the old school advertising doesn't work anymore. So they want content on their social media channels. They have to blog because you have to create a lot of content to be noticed. And brands don't know how to do that. I talk to a lot of brands and go to brands and like, everybody knows how to create content, that's my opinion, but they don't, they really don't. So we have to help them, and who can better help them than people who really know how to write? So that's what bloggers and influencers do. And then you have the media, and they're starting to know how to work with content, but they don't know yet how to get engagement. So how do we get people to talk to us? So I see a three-way collaboration here. Bloggers and media brands should work. And like if magazines would disappear and we have a lot of editors that don't have jobs anymore, then either way you can start a blog, or you can work for brands or for tech companies, because I see a lot of people asking for editors at companies, like at brands or at tech companies. You have a lot of jobs. So journalists and editors don't have to be unemployed in these times. There are a lot of places there where they can go. So bloggers is the solution for me, and I saw this sketch from Contently. It's a website I check regularly. Contently is a company from the US who creates content for brands. And they also have a really good blog. It's called The Content Strategist. And this is from their CEO, people who has the future of content. Will it be the publishers, will it be the agencies, or will it be the tech companies? Because he thinks tech companies will be of great importance in the content future. And he says the creation is with the publishers and agencies. Because I didn't talk about agencies today because they're a middle person, but they're for advertisement they're very important. So mostly I talk to agents to combine the bloggers with the brands. But I myself think that agencies will have difficult times if they won't keep up with creation. So that also agencies starting with content factories right now. And they have the talent and the ideas and the production and process. And the engagement comes from bloggers and from publishers. But then you need the techniques. And that's what I love content, but I also love the tools around it that you can optimize. That's what BuzzFeed is one of my biggest examples of a content company who really gets it. Half of their staff is from the measuring and the analyzing side. They have to do everything what they do. They can measure and they can make it better. So you have to use the techniques of the future, and the magazines still don't do that. So they know now how to create content, but they still don't use tools and techniques to make this better. The tech companies do. So the only way to go forward is to work together and to collaborate. So for me, it's the future of publishing. We have to collaborate with each other. And I thought it was nice you maybe did this already, but for this morning you have to introduce yourself to someone you don't know yet. So it could be me or it could be somebody else. And tweet or Instagram it with hashtag #CMCollaborate. But you can also use the hashtag from the Creative Mornings. It would be nice to if I can make some links here between you and that you can collaborate on projects.